Welcome to the Leadership Intelligence Podcast. My name is Charles Rogel, and I am the Vice President of Products and Marketing for DecisionWise. Today I'm talking with Matt Wride.
Hi, Charles. Good to be with you.
Matt is one of the co-authors of the book, The Employee Experience, How to Attract Talent, Retain Top Performers, and Drive Results. Matt is the Chief Operating Officer at DecisionWise and holds a JD degree. He oversees our company operations as well as its finance, legal, and administrative functions. Today we're talking about the book, The Employee Experience, and specifically Chapter 1, which is titled, You're Digging in the Wrong Place. So Matt, why that chapter title?
The customer experience is kind of what led us to start thinking about the employee experience in the first place.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of companies have spent a lot of time and a lot of money, rightfully so, trying to measure, understand, improve the customer experience. And we had started with this premise, really, that a great customer experience is an outcome of an employee experience. Mm-hmm. And as we kind of measured that, talked about it, and researched that theory, and we came away pretty convinced we were right, we realized then that a lot of the money and a lot of those efforts were really misguided, misplaced. And so that's where we kind of came up with the phrase, you're digging in the wrong place. It's great that you send out a survey after every interaction. It's great that your customer service representatives end each phone call saying, a brief survey will come, and I'd really appreciate it if you give me a good score. and we understand why. Just some of our stats that we compiled as part of the writing process is that if you lead in customer experience, then you're going to outpace competition by quite a bit. For example, those who lead in customer satisfaction outperform the Dow by 93%. They outperform the Fortune 500 by 20% and the NASDAQ by 335%.
Wow.
So there's compelling reasons to focus on customer satisfaction. Another interesting stat is just that a 1.3% increase in your customer satisfaction scores could lead to a 0.5% increase in revenue, and that's top-line revenue. That's a big, big number. That said, our theory and our kind of our stake in the ground from this book is stop spending your time and your money there. That's going to come naturally when you really focus on who delivers the customer experience in the first place, and that's your employees. And that's what we mean by you're digging in the wrong place.
And it's interesting, in the book you share kind of a case study on the Chicago Transit Authority with kind of a misplaced focus on this customer experience that somewhat backfired on them.
Yeah, they set about, the Chicago Transit Authority wanted to modernize the way riders get on and off the bus, and the way they're billed and all of that. And they were going away from cards and things, and they implemented a system. But during the process of implementing the system, they didn't talk to any drivers. And they didn't learn some things that caused them some real heartaches when they went to implement the process. Like, for example, people often exit the bus from the front entrance, and so they were getting double charged because they were walking through the scanner for the card or the system,
read their chip,
and it was reading it twice. Or the fact that bus drivers let people on the back all the time if they know them, because you get to know your bus driver. I started my career in Seattle. I rode the bus to downtown, and you get to know the drivers pretty well. And so they missed a really good opportunity to better understand and avoid all of the problems and all the customer complaints, because it was not just kinks, it was a mess.
Right.
It was a fiasco. And so they really missed an opportunity because they were so focused on just this isolated, independent customer experience that they did not involve the employees at all. And so we kind of use that as a case study to support this concept of start with your employees. Yes, later you may focus directly on the customer, but you're going to start, and your starting point should be the employee.
Well, you need their buy-in and their input to make it effective.
Right.
So how would you define then the employee experience? If the customer experience is all about how the customer experiences their interaction with a company, what is it with an employee?
I mean, it's somewhat similar. The technical definition is it's the sum of perceptions about all the various interactions you have with the workplace.
Yeah.
And we use that term perceptions purposefully because it's not so much what's reality, it's what the employee is perceiving. It's their perceptions of how they're treated. But that definition, I think, while accurate and while somewhat academic in nature, it misses the point of the employee experience. This book is not about trying to create a positive environment necessarily. It's about aligning your operating environment with what your goals are for your organization. And so you may not have a warm and fuzzy employee experience,
Yeah.
but it might be well suited to the demands that your industry has. And so it's really more a question of building the right operating conditions for your team. And it's not just a life cycle of my employee starts on day 1 and on day 30 we do an onboarding survey, and on day 40 we train them and then they exit and so on, and you have this employee life cycle. It's really about what is the nature of how your employees feel about the place they work and the overall operating environment.
And how they kind of respond to it as well. So there's another topic within this chapter you talk about. It's the law of congruent experience.
So you get to make up laws for books, right? It's kind of, you get to make it up and think you're cool. It really is just a premise that the employees will deliver the customer experience that's equivalent to their own employee experience. Uh-huh. So if they're in a customer call center and they work for a tyrant and he's stinky and smelly and they don't get paid and it's this dingy call center, the chances of them then having just a delightsome customer experience when someone calls in is going to be pretty rare.
Yeah.
And so it's really that proposition that as you treat your employees, they will then in turn treat your customers. And I think it was Stephen Covey that said you always want to treat your employees as exactly the same way you would treat your very best customer.
Well, Matt, thanks for a brief overview of Chapter 1 of the book, The Employee Experience. If you'd like to get your copy, it's available on Amazon and other book publishers around the country and the world. The EX, or The Employee Experience, is published by Wiley and is available on January 30th, 2017.